not disrespect the marathon. Embrace the struggle and make pain your friend. Because the harder the struggle, the greater the reward. Pain is temporary. A marathon is forever.
G'day mate, we made it here to the bloody Gold Coast. Take a look at this view. You absolute ripper. Look at that beauty. You know what, forget that running bollocks, the race. This is a holiday now. Ooh, I could get used to this. Now you're never gonna believe this, but I'm actually not a native Aussie. I was putting the accent on the whole time. But don't tell me I couldn't pass as a natural Aussie. You gotta say the accent's on point. Let me know in the comments actually. Give me a rating out of 10. I reckon I've absolutely nailed it. But as you can tell, I'm enjoying this a little bit too much. Coming from the sweaty Japan summer, 35 degrees plus, this is dreamy. So we'll get more into the race tactics, the game plan later. But first, let's throw it back to last week where we ended the vlog in Seattle with the huge announcement that I just signed a pro deal with Brooks. So now that that secret is out, I can talk a bit more about what I was up to over there. And one of the best parts of this pro contract is obviously the free shoes. Because when you're banging out 250k a week, I'm going through about a pair every 3 weeks or so. Until now, my monthly expenses have gone food, rent, shoes in that order. So this is a bit of a game changer. But now I'm no shoe tuber, and to be honest, I don't really care about the specifications, the technical details of shoes. There's plenty of channels out there that can do a way better job than me. All I really care about is how they feel. Can they handle the immense load of my thunder thighs pounding the pavements every day? Well, in the case of the Brooks Hyperion Max 3, which is the first shoe I took for a spin over there, that was certainly the case. These are unreal for a steady long run when you want to pick up the pace, get cruising. And when I was in Seattle, I dropped that 40k at minimal effort, just ticking over 340 per k pace, absolutely no problemo. So while these shoes are big and chunky, they're also light at the same time, so they get my seal of approval. Now, as much as Seattle was a cheeky little 300k week training camp, there was also an action-packed schedule to attend to. And I think today we're heading to the Brooks lab thing, so we'll do some kind of testing stuff there. I guess look at the new shoes. I'll get to try them as well, the Hyperion 5 today. So that's their new like marathon shoe, race shoe. And there's a whole load of other content creators here as well from all over. We've got an influencer collab here.
Yeah. So Jack, say hello to our Chinese friends.
How's it going, guys? So after expanding the Ran to Japan army into China, we went exploring around the Brooks crib, checking out the behind the scenes and seeing what goes into developing these fresh new shoes. So we've been exploring around the Brooks HQ today, and I've also been getting to know some of the other pro runners like on their team, so the marathoners, all of those lot are here as well. But I was thinking I need to start filming some more because I gotta remember I'm a content creator as well. I hate it though, because like when you're just chatting to someone, getting to know them, it's a nightmare. If you imagine just like suddenly you see a camera creeping up, like it's so unnatural. The last thing you wanna do is stick a camera in their face, especially when those guys are prepping for the big one, World Champs in Tokyo this summer, where of course I'll be on the ground bringing you that groundbreaking content. Brooks have absolutely cleaned up the marathon team, so 4 out of the 6 from the US are from Brooks, the entire women's squad, and then CJ as well. So I've been warning them that the summer in Japan is an absolute nightmare. Basically, you don't want to be there, but I guess if you have to for the World Champs, then you just got to somehow get that heat training in. So good luck to those lot. And I'll be following their build-ups and hopefully catch up with them in Tokyo to film some stuff when they're over there. But for now, I myself have a marathon to attend to. And just like that, mate, we're back on the bloody Gold Coast. And I think it's about time we discuss the actual race plan. What am I targeting? I gave a little sort of hint in the last video. Obviously used the Kaizen predictor that had me coming in at 221, but obviously it is a little bit hard to tell because I've been training in Japan in that crazy heat, humidity, all the pace is gonna be lower. So with the icy cold 20 degrees out here, hopefully it feels a little bit easier on race day. Now the Kaizen team are thinking that prediction might be a little bit soft based on the recent workouts I'm doing, and I've been picking it up, so I'm definitely trending in the right direction. And I reckon the aim on race day has got to be to beat the Kaizen prediction, try and go sub 220, but for me to try and get in 209 shape later this year, I'm gonna have to put together a monster block of training. And the Kaizen team ran the numbers, and if I was to keep training with a similar average elevation and pace during the week, then I'd need to average over 250k a week in the couple months leading up to my next big marathon to have a proper shot at a sub 210. And it's that kind of data that powers their weekly training target in Kaizen. So the ability to calculate your overall training needed to achieve the target goal time. So it's pretty simple for the next block. Don't end up in hospital, keep rolling 250k plus, sub 210, job done, let's go. So I'm obviously not in the best shape for Gold Coast, but I'll definitely be taking that Kaizen prediction into account. I know that I'm, roughly in around 220, maybe just under sub 220 shape. So I'm probably gonna start off a little bit more conservative and then hopefully try and work my way through. If I still feel great at like 30k, we can obviously cut it down. So with the game plan locked in, it was time to do what I do best. That's right, the carbo load. So I've come round, Dad's actually staying just next to me, but he's got a microwave in his apartment. So I brought over the Japanese rice. Can't trust the Aussie food. It's a little bit heavy. So I'll get these on the go. 3 of these, carbo loading, job done. So I've been putting together a little lunch creation. We've just found some bits in the cupboard. We've got beef jerky, salad, seeds, and then the Vegemite was gonna be a sauce. I realized I had no sauce for my rice. It's sort of rock solid, so it's not quite mixing in well. This might be a world first. Surely no one on earth has combined this. It's so salty.
Is it shocking? Yeah, it is.
Even like I put a tiny bit. Jesus, it's powerful.
Not a winner.
It's not a winner. Scran to Japan score, 3. It's getting the job done. It's carbs, but I can't say I'm enjoying it. So I forced down the first bowl. I've now given up on the Vegemite. I'm taking the safe route this time, going for the rice and crisps combo. And this will just continue throughout the day, more and more carbs until I'm completely full, unable to move. Then I know I've done it right. So the final part of the race prep was to secure the wavy gums to make sure I was looking good and feeling good on race day. So I'm getting all prepped for tomorrow now, laying out all my kit. I gave him my drinks and stuff, so I've got all the carbs. So I'm going big on the carbs. I need every little help I can get. And that's gonna come to support as well, which I know you guys are gonna be bringing with the Ran to Japan custom singlet. They've delivered the goods with this bib, jeez. And the Brooks kit as well, how nice is that? Definitely not gonna miss me out there in the luminous colorways. And speaking of which, let's talk about the race shoes, because up until now, I've refused to mention what I run in. I'm not giving out free promo like that, but of course now I've been picked up by Brooks. Then I'm gonna be whipping these bad boys out, the new Hyperion 5. So you might have noticed actually in loads of my track sessions recently, I've been wearing the Hyperion 4 PB and they're class. And these ones are meant to be even lighter. They've obviously got the carbon plate in, but what I like actually about the Brooks ones, they're a little bit firmer than some of the other super shoes. And for me with my calves, I find if I'm sinking into like a squishy, massive heel, it just puts so much strain on the calves, whereas in these I never actually have any problems, and I'll be properly christening them on race day tomorrow. And I'm gonna have to get up tomorrow at about 3:30. Race kicks off at 6:15. Got to get fueling and everything, some carbs in the morning. Make sure my body's actually awake, but that means I've got to get a good night's sleep now. And luckily I've got my Pillar Performance triple magnesium on hand. This is actually class. Now I'm always banging on about how important sleep is, like getting your 8 hours a night. There's absolutely no way I'd be able to hit 250k weeks if I wasn't doing that. That recovery factor is so important, and the Pillar Performance triple magnesium has that 3 specific forms of magnesium that help the absorbability. And I have it before bed every night, and I've genuinely found it does help the sleep. So even though most days after a 40k run day, I'm usually absolutely crippled, but then in the morning, we go again, rejuvenated. So big up Pillar Performance for the support, and they actually had a shakeout run at the Gold Coast, so I jumped in that. I met a load of you guys there as well. So it was legendary how many people from the Ran to Japan army showed up. So it was great fun chatting to everyone, and Pillar also giving out some little sample packs. I guess people got to test it out there. And if you want to try out their supplements, then you get 15% off first orders with the code RAN to Japan. They've got a whole load of supplements on the website, so check it out and save some of that sweet cash money at the same time. So with a good night's sleep in the bank, it was finally race morning as glory awaited me. I hit the elite warm-up area and was mid-vlogging when I bumped into a friendly Japanese runner who's on the same team as one of my mates, Atsura, who I trained with before. I said, ND ソフト、Atsura さんの友達ですね。
竹内です。
竹内さん。はい。今日の目標は何分ぐらい
？2時間7分台。
早い。早い。自己ベストは何分？
2時間8分40秒。
OK。頑張りましょう。
契約。
ありがとうございます。So they've got the Japanese presence here as well. Loads of top runners. I think the front boys are going, about 207 pace, trying to break that course record, but I'm going to be way back from there. Hopefully find a little squad. This will be the last little bit of footage. I've got to get a warm up in soon, but I'll see you on the start line with the live stream. Oh, come on the boys.
Welcome, runners, to the start of the 2025 Essex Gold Coast Marathon. We salute your courage because you all know it's going to hurt, but pain is temporary. A marathon is forever.
On your marks. So they're underway.
Oh yeah, just like that, we're rocking and rolling, hyped up by the pre-race speech, but I tried to keep it nice and calm, controlled. I didn't want to lose my head because in the back of my mind, I'm not going to lie, on that start line, I did think, let's just shoot for a PB, I've got nothing to lose. But I quickly realised within a couple K that I don't think I could even split PB pace through halfway, so there was no chance that was happening. I had to make the call at about 2K. We had a pack of maybe 15, but the boys were starting to pick it up a little. I think they were aiming for maybe 2:15 pace, so a couple of us dropped back, formed our own group. We were chatting amongst ourselves, trying to figure out the best plan of attack. And I think it was a sensible call in the end, so we slipped back into about 3:15K pace. So looking at around a 2:18 marathon. And we had a small little squad here, 3-5K, rolling through in 16:20. And this section of the race was the absolute maddest thing I've ever experienced in my life. So we do a pretty quick switch around, so we're coming back against the massive runners. And I'm not even joking, for this whole section, maybe 15 minutes straight, I just had, "Let's go Jay, run to Japan, race harder," just shouted at me every second. At first it was actually a bit overwhelming because I'd like to kind of acknowledge people, like give a little nod or a wave or something usually, but if I was to do that this time, then I'd have been exhausted by about 10K. It was absolute madness, but I ended up just kind of locking in. I was aware of it, I could hear everything, but I tried to just focus on the race, not get too carried away and gassed up, just end up flying. But we kept that steady kind of 3:15 pace again through 10K. Already my little group's starting to split up though. Each K someone's falling off, and by about 10K there's maybe only 2 or 3 of us left, and I'd already been pacemaking this whole time, so I realised pretty quickly, yeah, this is going to be a solo run, a classic, which at least I'm prepped for, having trained solo for basically the last year. The way of the marathon monk really is great practice for this, and I'd say this pace didn't feel too comfy, but it seemed just about manageable, and at this point I was completely solo, so I thought, alright, let's go reeling in, it's fishing time. I'm already starting to catch quite a few guys that have gone off too hot, but there's massive gaps, the field's so strung out that it's maybe 100, 200 meters at least in front of me and behind me with just no one, like empty space. And that's where the support from the Run to Japan army really was legendary. Like people watching on the sideline, like sending in these video clips, and also runners that I'm passing as I'm going back the other way. Just that constant support, I just rode the wave of Run to Japan cheers. And that kept me in a nice cruisy rhythm through halfway in 1:08:55. So that's on for just under 2:18. That's actually my slowest halfway split in a marathon by probably about 2 minutes, like ever. So this couldn't be more different to my classic kamikaze style. I even surprised myself how controlled and sensible I was. Now there was a Gold Coast live stream on YouTube and I'd whacked a little link up on my story, hadn't thought too much of it. I thought if anyone wanted to tune in, but realistically they were just following the top men going at 2:07 marathon and then the top women. So I wasn't planning on being shown at all. But clearly the live stream viewers, who by the sound of it were almost entirely my subscribers, were getting more and more frustrated by the refusal of the commentary team to acknowledge me, despite 99% of these comments being along the lines of, "Show us Jake or we riot." Watching back the live stream, absolutely hilarious. You lot completely took over. I was cracking up just reading some of the comments, but clearly I've been blacklisted by the race commentators. So the Run to Japan team had to take things into our own hands, and we sent a spokesperson down to the ground.
G'day, Chris Barraclough reporting from the Gold Coast. We're covering Jake Barraclough, aka Ran to Japan. I spoke to him yesterday about his preparation. I know he's looking for a sub 2:10 this year, but 6-8 weeks ago he nearly lost his arm. Wasn't a croc attack. could have been one, but what happened was he got a nasty infection. It interrupted his training, so I think he's going to set off at around a 2:18 pace, and then if he's still feeling together in the last 10k, he's going to accelerate. So we'll get some footage of him, and I'll be zipping around behind him, showing my class as best I can with 100 kilos of weight to pull. It's been an absolute pleasure. Now back to the studio.
So just to be clear, my dad is British and has the same accent as me, but as you can tell, this is where my absolute mastery for the Aussie accent comes from. And at this point into the race, at 30k, is where it always gets tough. Every marathon I've ever done, I've hit the wall there with sort of 10k to go. And I felt like I was starting to slip in that direction, just no one up ahead. I couldn't even chase anyone because the gaps were so big. I've been absolutely slogging it out solo, just trying to enter the pain cave and embrace it, but I was starting to struggle and the pace was slipping a little bit down into the 320s, 325, even a couple 330s here, until we eventually turned around at 37k and almost got a bit of a second wind here. I realized, right, the game plan has to just be break 220. That's all that matters. That would still be a ridiculous performance given the last few months training and how rough shape I'm coming in and out. That's what I set out to do, beat the Kaizen prediction. So I entered a deep Zen-like state in that final 5k, absolutely hanging, but still just about clipping away at 320 or under. And at this point, the race leaders were coming into the finish. It was an absolute Japanese domination. They completely cleaned up the top 5 with Yuki Takei in a 2:07 marathon to break the course record, which is mad considering this weather was far from optimum. It was like 20 degrees at this point, ridiculously humid. But he made it look like light work, and we had just after our mate from earlier, Takeuchi, coming in a 2:08, just dipping his PB by 2 seconds to take the bronze medal. What a legend. But for me, with that sub 220 in the balance, I had to kick it home. Easily the quickest I've ever finished a marathon, because by this point I'm usually crawling, unable to see or hear. And I wasn't far off that, but I was definitely in a better state than I have been.
Another one of our youngsters at sub 220. Congratulations, Jake.
As I crossed the line in a 2:19.20, my slowest official marathon time, but probably my best performance to date. And at this point, clearly my body had given up and decided to shut down. So as for this aftermath, well, this video's long enough already, so you're gonna have to tune in next week for the post-race debrief. So this has been Ran to Japan, and big up all you legends for watching, all the support, unreal. And we're gonna have to switch up the ending after this uncharacteristic, sensible, pacing execution. So till next time, train harder, race smarter.